should know more. So if you were in the clinic right now, it would have been hilarious to hear what you could do through that wall. That's all I'm really saying.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Nope,
I just
you're
want to tell
mine.
you, I put these down below.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Just so you know, I told you this, I'm going to make a copy of it because I couldn't really share it with other people. So I just told them that they said they hadn't changed it when they were in the room. So I said to
Okay.
finance, so they should be good to go. I just have this up just in case it gets
And I went upstairs and got more. I don't know if we're out now.
I figured out when the choir comes. It's next Monday. And I'm gonna go. Oh, wait, I can be. Oh, yeah.
I'm eating dinner.
Okay,
More
should
of
I
my
put
room.
this down?
Yes, you can put that down. Yes.
All of it or do you want more down?
You can close it, or sorry, minimize it. I just wanted the tab open just in case.
39. But it's not as long as Pop Shop or Starship.
Except for the All right, I will call this meeting to order. This is a public meeting of the School Board of West Bend Joint School District Number 1. More than 24 hours prior to this meeting, notice of the time, place, date, and subject matter of the meeting was posted in each school building, the entrance doors at the ESC, and at the West Bend Community Memorial Library. A copy was also sent to the Daily News, WBKV, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and other media sources who have requested notice of our meetings. Deb, can you confirm this meeting was properly posted? Great. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we've got a pretty packed agenda here tonight. We've got all 7 board members here with us, and I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any questions on the agenda? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Great, we've got an agenda tonight, and we'll turn it right over to our high school students for a high school update.
Good evening, Board. A little bit going on in East Athletics. East Boys Basketball has started its conference season off 3-0 with big wins over Cedarburg, Grafton, and Hartford. A highlight on senior Dylan Polster, who's leading the North Shore Conference in scoring, averaging just over 26 points a game. The boys and girls will be heading down to Homestead to face the Highlanders this Thursday. East Gymnastics lost a close matchup last week against our Cross Hallway rivals by losing by less than 5 points. You can go cheer them on next Friday against Homestead as well. I'd like to congratulate the East Dance team and tell you guys to keep an eye out for them on local TV stations. The girls are starring in the latest Colders Furniture and Appliance Community Spotlight commercial after beating out 3 other acts for the spot. So if you see any of them in the community, be sure to give them a big high five and congratulations. Also this week is the East-West Wrestling in the South Gym on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Go on to cheer on your boys. East NHS is beginning its annual penny drive this week. All money is going towards chemotherapy care packages, so we're hoping we can get a good school and community turnout. On music this week at the school, tomorrow the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra is holding its annual pop concert. They invite people to come on down for the holiday entertainment, and don't be afraid to sing along. And next week, Monday, down at the Silver Lining Arts Center again, is the West Bend High School Choir performing its holiday concert. I'll pass it over to Libby now.
Thank you. Also going along with the season of giving, Student Council is hosting their annual blood drive benefiting the Blood Center of Wisconsin this Wednesday from 7 to 2:30. Students were sent a link via their school email, so we've been promoting within the school, but they're also inviting community members that can sign up via a link that can be found on the West Bend Student Council Blood Drive Facebook page. Walk-ins are welcome all day, and it will take place in the South Gym. Along with that, something a little special about this blood drive is it's in honor of 2 high school staff, Mr. and Mrs. Sorcy. This past summer, I believe, Mrs. Sorcy had her baby and lost 1/3 of her blood, and blood transfusions helped save her life, so this blood drive is in honor of them. For West Athletics, boys basketball played a great game last week, narrowly losing to Whitefish Bay, 57-60. The next home game is against Cedarburg, Friday, December 14th. Girls basketball is doing fantastic. Their conference win over Whitefish Bay last Friday put them in a 5-way tie for first place in conference. Their next home game is tonight at 7:15 versus Nicolay. Wrestling took 17th at their tournament in Sun Prairie this Saturday, with senior Blake Pudwell taking 3rd place and Josh Johnson taking 6th. The swim team has a home meet Thursday at 6 p.m. against Hartford Union. And the West Dance team took 5th in kick and 6th at POM in their competition in Watertown this past Saturday. So once again, we'd just like to thank the board for having us and wish everyone a fun and safe holiday season. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Nice update. We've come to the public participation portion of our agenda. Board Policy 187 prescribes the nature and procedures for this segment. I will summarize the policy at this time, but copies of the policy are available in the back of the room, and I urge you to familiarize yourself with it in its entirety. Residents of the district, parents of children in district schools, and employees of the district may participate. Participants desiring to address the board should obtain and complete a participant comment card near the entryway and turn it over to the board president prior to the meeting. Participants may comment concerning an agenda item or a non-agenda item. Each participant will be called to the podium and given 3 minutes to speak. The participant must state his or her name, address in relation to the district. This information will appear in the minutes of the meeting. The board will not engage in debate concerning the remarks or take immediate action. The board may refer the matter to the superintendent, a committee, or take the remarks into consideration in future action. Board Policy 872 prescribes a formal process for citizen complaints, and Board Policy 520 provides a formal process for employee complaints. The board recommends use of these procedures and policies as they guarantee a fair and timely response. Before we get started tonight, I want to let the board know that our policy 187, public participation, says that we will have public participation time for up to 30 minutes. I have 15 comment cards in front of me, and if each person speaks for 3 minutes, that's 45 minutes. So, if we would like to extend that 30-minute time, which is what our policy states, our policy also states we can extend it by a simple majority vote of the board.
Does the policy limit the commentary? For instance, if you and I were both speaking on the same matter and we both were saying exactly the same thing, is there anything in the policy about that saying, you know?
No.
And as I recall, there was a particular line that said participants should be aware if the topic is one of redundancy or it's already been said by a public participant to consider that so that you're not repeating the same thing. I know we can extend it to 45 minutes. I'm okay doing that, but I do think there is a specific phrase that asks the public to be respectful of the fact that if it's been said 3 different ways, maybe doesn't need to be said.
You are right. So number 5 under our policy of participant responsibility says, participants should respect the time of all meeting attendees by not simply repeating the comments of a previous participant. So, not that we're necessarily going to have every person speak for the 3 minutes, but I am personally in favor of allowing whoever wants to speak their time. Would simply ask participants to be respectful of everyone's time in the room, and if you're finding that the people ahead of you are saying the same things you want to say, maybe keep that in mind.
Second.
So I guess I'll make the motion to allow exception to the 30-minute rule of our public participation policy.
I'll formally second.
Any more questions, discussion on that? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? All right. I will do these in order that they are sitting here. Maria and Carl, and I cannot pronounce your last name, Maria and Carl, so sorry about that. But when you come to the podium, please just state your name and address, relation to the district. Thank you.
Maria and Carl Tiefenthaler, our address, is that better? W210 N16521 Woodshire Court in Jackson. And our son attends Pathways Charter School, and we're here in support of Pathways. Our son is currently in 8th grade at Pathways Charter School, and just to give you a little background about our son, when he was in elementary school, he had a lot of anxiety. So much so we had to take him out of school during the middle of his 4th grade because of it. The next year we tried homeschooling, which was not successful. The following year he did virtual school through the public school system, but that was not also successful. Finally, he was old enough to attend Pathways last year in 7th grade, and that's where he has found success. Our son feels that project-based learning is more intense and challenging than regular school. However, the teachers have a great rapport with the students, and that helps a lot when dealing with troublesome topics. This is from him, so I'm just repeating. And because it is a smaller environment, the teachers are able to take a more personal interest in each student. Also, that smaller size is less stressful for our son and makes social interactions easier. He enjoyed school so much that, okay, he told me not to say this, but he was upset when summer break came and he couldn't be at school. So, coming from somebody who could not attend school to now wanting to be in school, that speaks volumes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I've got Larry Hetke. Again, Larry, just your name, address, relation to the district.
Larry Hadkey, North 169, West 19876, Georgetown Drive, Jackson, Wisconsin. I'd like to speak in favor of including the new Jackson Elementary on the referendum. I'm going to try and do 4 or 5 bullet points, so it's not a steady, necessary thing. One issue that I was concerned with was safety at the current school. When the school was first built there, the one part there were horse and buggies going in front of the school. But since that time, there's been a huge amount of development. And so if you go down there at drop-off or pickup time, they're a problem. A new site could improve because you would have a better system. Point 2, around the state, communities, elementary schools are certainly centers of activity and pride. I think we should all be proud of all the teachers and students in the Jackson Elementary. The condition of the school building is not a source of pride. At the last meeting, I know one person claimed that we are in very hard economic times. I think the debt ratio here is good. I think our President Trump would disagree. He would have to say we are in good economic times. One person at the last meeting also mentioned that they thought the school should maybe be remodeled. Well, I'm not sure what the lifespan of a remodeled school, but the individual said he thought a new school was 70 or 80 years. So, for that one. I don't buy into the argument that about test scores, McLean and Jackson being the highest test scores, and they're the oldest schools. I don't think that holds water. If we examine studies in Los Angeles and the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching Studies, they have found that Chinese new schools do improve test scores. They found between 5 and 17%. Not that we can improve 17% at Jackson or McLean because they are already close to that particular one. Test scores should not be used as an excuse not to build. If test scores were so important, there are many studies out there that also show that school uniforms raise test scores. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Simon Euchre. Simon, just state your name, address in relation to the district. Thanks.
Right. Simon Euchre, 325 South 9th Avenue, West Bend, Wisconsin. I am a student at Pathways, and I'd like to speak in defense of Pathways. In 4 days, I will learn whether or not I have been accepted to Johns Hopkins University for chemical and biomolecular engineering. I've been at Pathways since the school's inception in my 7th grade year, and I have no doubt that attending Pathways has changed me for the better and allowed me to apply to Johns Hopkins with confidence. In 6th grade, I had an explosive temper and a short fuse. Despite my academic success, I was often bullied. In addition, I couldn't work on math as quickly as I wanted to, and I struggled to deal with the stress and noise that the 600-some kids at Badger Middle School created. In 7th grade, when I attended Pathways for the first year, everything changed. The stress and noise were only a problem for a small fraction of my day. My fuse started getting longer, and my temper less explosive. Instead of focusing on managing stress, I could focus on my education, which let me work on math at my own pace, allowing me to finish geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calc in the same year. This academic boost has set me up to have my choice of colleges this year. I've already been accepted to MSOE with a substantial scholarship. So, what's so special about Pathways? In my mind, what's special is the different environment and the different learning process at Pathways. There are fewer students at Pathways, so we form a more tight-knit community. We also get to know the teachers on a more personal level, and they're never too far away to ask for help. Each student also has their own laptop or Chromebook, which revolutionizes the learning and teaching, and it's been that way since Pathways' beginning in 2013. When students get to put their own spin on a project, I feel that it makes them more interested, more motivated, and more engaged. It lets them show their passion for something better than if the teacher gives an assignment and does not allow the students to spice it up. In addition, the fact that each project spans multiple subjects means that no student will ever have to simultaneously deal with huge assignments in multiple subjects. Finally, Pathways removes what I like to call filler homework. Small, frequent assignments that distract students from assignments such as essays, book reports, presentations, and lab reports. Pathway students are able to focus on these larger assignments and complete them with greater detail. The countdown to Johns Hopkins is 4 days. Without Pathways, I wouldn't have even put in an application. My name is Simon Euchre, future engineer and Pathway student. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Simon, and best of luck on your John Hopkins application. Sarah Kemp? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Sarah Kemp is up, and then we'll have Rebecca Ashburn next.
Hello, it's Sarah Kemp, 328 Forest Avenue, Kewaskum, Wisconsin, and I'm a parent of a Pathways graduate. So I want to speak in defense of Pathways. My daughter Franny was a student at Pathways Charter School from 8th grade through to graduation last year. And I want to illustrate for you how Pathways shaped my daughter's educational and social development, and also give you my opinion on the value that the school adds to the community and to the school district. And I hope I won't keep you more than 3 minutes. When Franny was in 6th and 7th grade, it became clear that she was something of an unconventional learner. In all her statewide testing, she was consistently in the 99th centile for all subjects, but her grades did not reflect this, and her anxiety levels in school were often very high. Now, I have educators in my family, and my husband and I are great believers in and supporters of public education, but we looked everywhere for an alternative to conventional schooling for our daughter. We looked at faith-based schools, we looked at online schooling, homeschooling, and private schools, and none were a good fit until we found Pathways. Without Pathways and its supremely dedicated core of teaching staff, my daughter would not have graduated high school. While there, she worked alone and in small and large groups on projects which were of a phenomenally high standard. She's currently working very hard in various restaurants and coffee shops in her gap year, earning money, saving money to go to Australia for an extended time before going to university next year. I also want to mention just quickly the value of the internship program, which was developed by Becky Derline, and all the other community outreach programs that are a vital feature of the school, and they give them a truly rounded education. And before I finish, I want to say that I understand that the school district is in fiscal deficit. In my professional life, I'm a project manager, and my husband is the CEO of his company. We understand fiscal responsibility. We understand budget constraints and the challenges these bring. Obviously, I have no knowledge of the numbers you are looking at. I do not know how much Pathways Charter School costs annually. But I would venture to suggest very respectfully that when one has to address necessary budget cuts, a priority should be the continuing support of an essential service. I believe Pathways provides an essential service. It provides a safe place for students to learn differently to achieve their full potential. As things stand, my firm belief is that you as a school board should be proud of your record of support to Pathways. The school is a credit to West Bend School District and to the city of West Bend, and as parents, my husband and I will be forever in its debt. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Rebecca Ashburn, and then Matt Kindred will be after Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Ashburn, and my address is 1134 Park Avenue, West Bend, Wisconsin. I'm speaking in favor of Pathways. So throughout my time at Pathways, I have learned a great deal about myself and what I can do and what I can't. I learned more about myself than I could ever feel like I could at the high school, and it allowed me to have a lot of really close relationships, both with my teachers and other students, because our class sizes were so small. And through that, it taught me how to work with people better, and also how to manage my own time, because while our classes were still small, we couldn't have the teachers at our disposal every begging moment, because they had to help someone else. And through that, I learned to manage my time, which prepared me for so many things after school. I graduated in June of 2018, and since then, I have felt more prepared going into the workforce and applying for my colleges and everything else than I would have if I was at the high school, because I had those tight-knit people that I can rely on and call on if I still need help. I can still email my old coaches and be like, hey, how do I do this? And or my old friends too, that like it's just such a tight-knit community, and if we were to get rid of Pathways, I feel like we wouldn't really get that anymore. So I just hope that you guys consider keeping us around. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Matt Kindred, and then Prairie Halbrick will be after Matt.
My name is Matt Kenzor. Sorry, bad handwriting, but
It's all right.
Kenzor. My address is 129 South 7th Avenue, and I'm speaking in defense of Pathways. So, if Pathways wasn't here, I wouldn't know what I wanted to be someday. I wouldn't be able to explore different regions of jobs. I probably wouldn't understand how to do science or English. Without this school, I would be lost. But I can bond with my teachers here. They know how I learn. Pathways is just such a better school than the high school because the ways that things are taught. I'm able to apply what I've learned into things I like, and it helps me understand how the world works now instead of previously. I can't learn without the one-on-one help I get at Pathways. Current coaches and previous coaches like Coach O'Connor, Coach Orth, Coach Christofferson, all of them have helped me understand what responsibilities are, what it meant to prioritize my work and out-of-school life. But the coaches that had the best influence on me were the coaches sitting with me here. Coach Derline, you have been with me since the beginning of Pathways. You showed me perseverance, responsibility, so many great things. I've always loved math, and most with all honesty. With Alex, I'm able to work on math when I need to instead of getting homework for it every night. It's more flexible, so I can work ahead and then be able to focus on my project after. Coach Balzar, when I first met you, first thing that ran through my head was, whoa, deep voice. And yeah, I was honestly intimidated by you, but once I started to get to know him, I learned that he has a kind heart and he works very hard for the things that he wants. Social studies is not my favorite subject, but Bowser has helped me understand things that I don't think I could have before. Coach Euchre, when you first got here, I was unsure whether you would stay or not. When you did, I was happy because you helped me understand English like I never could. I now know my who's and whom's, proper grammar, nonces, things I doubted I could do. Coach Buss, I officially am in Nova Science now. Never paid attention before, but somehow he sparked an interest in me that I didn't know was in me. When you came in 2 years ago to teach a class for your interview, I was so frustrated because you brought in colored marshmallows, and because I'm colorblind, I wasn't able to tell the difference. But yeah, you kept helping me, you didn't get frustrated, and I think that you're the science teacher that Pathways needs. I went into Pathways as a 7th grade kid that did not know what I was going to do with my life, and I had no future plans, didn't know what I liked, nothing. Now, I have huge interests in pharmacies and being a heavy machine operator, and I guess I've just always felt like someone in the crowd, just another statistic. But ever since I walked into the front doors of Pathways, I've been noticed and I've made actual friends. And Pathways shaped me into me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Prairie Halbrick, and then Stephanie Snyder.
Hi. My name is Prairie Halbrick, and I live at 704 South Indiana Avenue, West Bend, Wisconsin. And I am an alum of Pathways, graduated last year. And I'm going to speak in defense of them. So I just want to open this by saying it's better when you find a person who doesn't know what Pathways is, because then they have no preconceived notions. Now, I'm speaking in defense of Pathways, but I'm also going to kind of highlight on some faults that I have noticed. So when I say preconceived notions, I mean that the public doesn't usually get what Pathways really is. It's a charter school. It's project-based learning, and It's for people who want to learn. It's for people who when you give them the baton, they run with it. But most of the time when you tell someone that your child is going to Pathways or you mention Pathways, they say, "Oh, isn't that a credit recovery place?" And it's not, and it never was intended to be. That's not what Pathways was meant for in the beginning. It was meant for people who wanted a new type of experience. And I really think that that's what we need to go back to. I don't think that we need to scrap the idea of Pathways. I think we need to reinvent it. I think we need to go back to the basics. I came into Pathways as an 8th grade student in the beginning of its career in 2013, and we had a theft. We all were interrogated, and we all thought that we were going to be locked up because the coaches staged this amazing theft for our benefit, for our projects, for our learning about the Law and Public Safety cluster. It was so great. And they had, they brought in real judges and real lawyers, and we got to act out our own, I can't think of the word. Trial. Thank you. We got to act out our own trial. People dressed up. People used funny voices. It was the best year of my life. It also gave me my best friends, like that person who already spoke, Rebecca. But that's what we need to go back to. We need to find this way that we can go back to this great idea of what project building is. And I think that would really help. Another thing that Pathways once said was that they were going to have a lot of business interactions. And once again, during the first and second years of Pathways, we did. We, of course, had our guest speakers that came in, but we also had real-life workers who came in from their job fields to grade us on our projects. We had a marketing project where we sold various like World War II weapons to some guy, and he helps in the grading of it. We had someone look at another marketing project that we did, and it's those things that we need to bring back. Because if you walk into Pathways right now, there's a wall on top of the entrance to the Exploration Lab where they have a bunch of different supporters of Pathways, but we've never seen one of them. And it's really sad because I think that would really help us in the long run.
Can you wrap it up?
Yeah. The good thing is that Pathways is still working. You know, we see that in the recent people who finished math early, these two 8th graders that they highlighted on their Facebook page and Instagram page. But honestly, I just hope that Pathways continues because as a college student, I am going for an English major, and in the long run, I really want to return to Pathways as an English teacher.
Cool. Thank you. Stephanie Snyder. And then Randy Kinzel.
Hi, my name is Stephanie.
Pull that down right to your mouth. There you go.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Snyder. I live on 136 Edgewood Lane, and I'm a current student at Pathways, and I'm speaking in defense of them. So, I go to Pathways, and if it weren't for Pathways, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I learned a lot about myself that I wouldn't have learned before. Like, at age 13, I got promised a future job at a veterinary clinic as a vet, and they said they'd help me pay for my college because of how well I was doing in school and stuff like that. And without the teachers and the learning they have, I would not have or I would not be getting published in a book coming out soon. And I would not have learned basic algebra. And some of my first years at Pathways, I was thinking, like, they changed teachers, okay? No offense, Eager. I thought I would hate you, and now we laugh about it now. I thought I would hate you, and I found out the teachers aren't like that. I actually like the teachers. I actually like how they teach. I like the learning, and we're a close-knit, not only close-knit community, but we're a family, and if we can't get the help we need, we won't be that family anymore. And so we wouldn't be able to learn or focus like we do now. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Randy Kinzel? And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Randy Kinzel?
It's Kinsley.
Kinsley, dang it.
Don't worry, it's German. My name is Randy Kinsley. I'm from 1816 Miller Street, and I currently have a student at Pathways. For those you don't know, my daughter here is diagnosed with ADHD and has high anxiety. Her constant worrying about everything is a day occurrence. During her past years at West Bend School District, she has attended McLean Elementary and Silverbrook Intermediate. She's also part of orchestra, which is now she loves the most, playing her cello. As a student, she's always struggled to find a place in school. You know, with anxiety and ADHD, it changes everything. There were a lot of long nights of homework that ended up in our student crying over the frustrating of not getting the assignment and finally just going to bed without completing it. She often would comment how she felt like a burden to her teachers because she asked so many questions, he felt like she had her limit to ask questions. She would shy away from asking questions, always feel like wasting time. The worries of the day would bring off and to lead every morning waking with a stomach ache and an excuse that she didn't feel good and didn't want to attend school. When we were able to move ahead to end of 6th grade year, she came home and asked if we ever thought about letting her attend Pathways. Since we were not familiar with a charter school, we truly hadn't really thought about it. We gave permission to her to attend the field trip with her class members to check out the school, then come home and sit and tell us what she thought about it. She was so happy and excited when she came home. Her experience in just that one short afternoon trip left an impact on my wife and I knew we had to check out this option for her. I've never seen her so motivated about what she wanted for herself in education. My wife and I decided to attend the Parents' Night at Pathways, and when we attended that, we were blown away what their options could be and how they can learn and what areas they can learn in 2 years. Then go on to high school and how you can have an internship by your senior year, which is huge. Pathway provides hands-on and flexible learning that a lot of kids that can't have traditional schooling need. And if we don't give them that option, we're kidding ourselves, honestly. There's a lot of kids that can't learn straight out of a book. Not every kid's book smart. Kids have a different way of learning. Look at the kids that are engineers. They didn't start learning out of a book. They did everything hands-on, and that's what we need to. Without Pathways, I'm not sure where we'd be able to go. We'd probably have to go to a private school or maybe homeschool. So please consider keeping this as an option, because there's a lot of kids in this district that are just like her too. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Sean Beck. Sean Beck, and then Mark Euchre will be after Sean.
If my phone will work. Alright, I'm Sean Beck. I'm a student at Pathways Charter School, and my address is 224 Wisconsin Street, West Bend, Wisconsin. Pathways is a school where everyone can learn in their own unique way, a place where students can share their ideas and support one another on what they're working on. At Pathways, I feel like I can learn better, and I can do a project on almost anything I'm interested in, and it really helps with my learning, and it can, whatever, I'm skip. Almost everyone at Pathways is friends, not just the students, but the coaches too. There's a personal connection between each student and a coach. We've had the same 4 coaches for the last 3 years, and we've had time to become close and to know each other. Kids at Pathways are treated like adults, for better or for worse, which prepares us for the real world and responsibility. Now I'm going to talk about each coach and how they each matter to me. First is Coach Balzar, my personal favorite coach. Sorry, but I gotta have one. Before Balzar came to Pathways, or even in middle school at Silverbrook, I hated social studies with a burning passion, and it was always my least favorite subject. But when Balzar came to the school, he shined a new light on social studies and how it can be fun. Balzar has helped me through school issues and personal ones too. He's probably my favorite person to talk to at Pathways. Another thing Balzar has done over time is taken me from the slacking off kid who never does any work and has turned me into a kid who gets A's and B's in his classes. Next is Coach Buss. Now, all of the science teachers we've had at Pathways, Buss is truly the best. She goes over the top when explaining things and is always there when we need help. Even though science has always been my favorite subject, she has made it so fun to learn science. She's made it so fun to do labs or even when we're taking notes. She's also given me the opportunity to exceed in science by doing physics and chemistry in the same year. Third is Coach Euchre. Now, this is the coach I've probably spent the least amount of time with. But he's a great teacher and is always accepting of our feedback, even though most of it is very sarcastic. And he always knows what's best for our learning, even though we always reject it. And he always knows what's best and is always trying to get us new ways to learn and new ways to learn better and faster. And last but certainly not least is Coach Dernline. Dernline has made math very easy over the years and has taught me many new ways to figure out equations and get quicker at solving problems. She's also a really fun person to talk to. She's probably the biggest geek at Pathways, and I always love talking to her about Harry Potter while she's helping me with my math. Yeah, I hate math, but she's always there to support me and make sure I get my problems right every time. Lastly, I just want to say, if you take away the school, you're taking away friendships and connections that could not have been found in any other place. You're also taking away the only place I get to express my creative freedom and find value in academics. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sean. Mark Euchre and then Chelsea Dahmen Davis.
Hello, my name is Mark Euchre. I live at 325 South 9th Avenue in West Bend, and I am speaking in support of Pathways Charter School. Since last year, I have been the English coach at Pathways Charter School, but tonight I'm speaking as a parent. My son, Simon Euchre, is a senior at Pathways Charter School. I would like to take this opportunity to share a little bit about how much Pathways has meant to myself, my wife, and our son. Simon struggled in elementary school because his teachers didn't really know what to do with him. As a kindergarten teacher, how do you teach a kid that already knows how to read, write, multiply, and divide before entering kindergarten? To their credit, his elementary teachers tried to find things for Simon to do that engage his intellect, but not always successfully. When Simon got to Badger in 6th grade, he really started having some trouble. Simon is on the autism spectrum, and he struggles in social situations and with chaos. His experience at Badger was so bad that my wife and I were very afraid that his needs were no longer being met. Then we heard that the West Bend School District was opening a brand new project-based charter school. We did some research on project-based learning and decided to give Pathways a try. We were so excited about it that we let Simon cut the ribbon at the opening ceremony. The change in Simon was transformational. When I picked Simon up from Pathways and asked him about his day, he usually had glowing things to say about Pathways. Simon and I often discussed the real-world applications of his projects that he was working on at Pathways. One of those projects prompted us to go to MSOE during Simon's 8th grade at Pathways. When I talked to a student at the admissions desk asking for information, he looked at Simon and said something along the lines of, "He's a little young." When I told him that Simon was in 8th grade and currently taking AP Calc, we suddenly were having an impromptu interview with an MSOE admissions officer. I do not believe that that would have happened had Simon not been attending Pathways. In the intervening years, Simon has been able to do so much math that he took a 5-credit math course through UW Online the summer after his sophomore year. Pathways has allowed Simon to feed his love of math and science, and the nature of Pathways allowed him to frequently revise projects if the coaches felt that they were not of the quality that they expected from him. So, instead of Simon's teachers trying to come up with ways to engage his intellect, at Pathways, Simon and other students design their own projects that they find interesting, engaging, and challenging. Because of Pathways Charter School, Simon has gone from a social wallflower whose unique intellect was largely lost in school to a young man who my wife, myself, and many of Simon's teachers believe stands a very good chance of getting into Johns Hopkins for chemical and biomedical engineering. Biomolecular. Pathways Charter School needs to be renewed for the future Simons in the West Bend School District. To not renew the charter would be to say that Simon and students like him do not matter, which we can all agree is clearly not the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Chelsea Doman Davis, and then Tracy Extens.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Doman Davis. I live at North 174 West 20332 Creekside Drive in Jackson. I am the parent of 4 school-age boys, and I stand before you this evening with a strong hope of persuading you to grant a long-term contract for Pathways Charter School. Henry's story, my oldest, his story is similar to so many told here already. After struggling at 2 different schools in 2 different states, we decided homeschool was the best solution, and for 4 years, it was amazing. Then last year, we moved to Wisconsin so my husband could join a dental practice in Slinger, and we decided to give traditional school another chance due to the reputation of high standards of education in the state. We considered living everywhere within a 45-minute radius of Slinger. We heard and continue to hear how amazing the Slinger School District is. But after Henry's previous struggles, we needed to find a different classroom experience that would help Henry learn in his way and with an environment conducive to developing skills requisite for successful adults. When I found Pathways in my research, I knew he had to live in the West Bend School District, despite all evidence pointing to Slinger. I am happy to report that at Pathways, Henry is not just surviving, but is thriving. He has grown immensely. When my son started at Pathways, he sat in the corner of the lunchroom every day with his coat on and his hood up. But now, and for the first time ever, he has friends at school. Friends who accept him as he is. They encourage each other to do their best, and they help each other. Those are true friends. Can you put a price tag on that? I know test scores were recently published, and they weren't as high as hoped. But do test scores really reflect the potential of an individual? Education is not only about numbers. It's about the entirety of a person. Let's remember that, like Stephen Hawking and Bill Gates, these are the kids who think outside the box, who need to know the whys and wherefores and will dig deep to find them. They need more convincing than the average teenager that filling out bubbles is worth their effort. I am certain had they realized the charter was up for renewal and the future of their school was literally in their hands, they would have given their best efforts and given you those test scores. When considering all of the numbers, please don't lose sight of the population a school closure would hurt and the ripple effect it would cause. In the words of one of my son's classmates, too many kids need this school. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Tracy, and then Sue Schutz will be after Tracy.
Hi, my name is Tracy Extens. I live at 2349 Chestnut Street here in West Bend, Wisconsin. And I currently have 3 children at Pathways, 5 in the district total. And I can concur with Mr. Euchre, what he's saying, that to deny Pathways the contract is almost saying like students like him don't matter. I am not against the high school. My daughter is doing great at the high school. Well, she is a Pathway student, but she spends most of her day at the high school just because of scheduling right now, and she goes to Pathways for a completely different reason than my other two students go to Pathways. And what I wanted to come up here and say is just having been a parent of 5, having been a paid employee in the district in 2 different positions in 2 different schools, and now currently a business owner, I've gotten to see firsthand and live with the understanding that every kid is different. Even all my 5, not one of them is the same at all. And they each go to Pathways for a different reason. But one of the greatest things that I love about Pathways is that they are there to learn how to learn, not just to learn, but that's one of the biggest things I see at Pathways, is that they are learning how to learn and learning how it actually works in a real world. And I just concur with all the other statements that have been brought up here today to renew Pathways contract, that it is a great service to this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Sue, and then Kim Goldman.
My name is Sue Schutz. I live at 1402 Amy's Place, West Bend. My daughter attends Pathways, and I will make this very brief. I'm here in support of Pathways, and her story is very much like all the other stories, in that Pathways has made a huge impact in her life, her ability to do better at her educational goals. She's been accepted at UW Oshkosh, and I don't think any of that would have been possible without her switching schools from a different school district to Pathways. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Sue. Kim? Kim, I swear yours was at the bottom. I'm not kidding you. Are you sure? Anybody else? I was told we may have run out of cards tonight, so if anyone else would like to speak that didn't get a chance. Thank you all for being respectful of time and everyone's comments. If you are choosing to get up and leave the meeting, that's okay. But if you do, just please keep in mind that this meeting will continue, so please don't have conversations right outside the doors because it gets awfully loud in here. So thank you all for being here tonight. We'll move along to our consent agenda. On the consent agenda tonight are minutes of the November 26th regular board meeting. Yes. I'm sorry, I skipped something. Clerk's report tonight. Connie Schmidt.
Just a reminder that paperwork for persons interested in running for a seat on the Board of Education is available at the Education Service Center. This information is also available on the front page of the district's website. The deadline for filing is Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019 at 5 p.m. The Education Service Center will be closed Monday and Tuesday, December 24th and 25th, as well as Friday, December 28th, and Monday and Tuesday, December 31st and January 1st. The deadline for incumbents to file notification of non-candidacy is Friday, December 21st at 5 p.m.
Great, thank you. Now our consent agenda. We have minutes of the November 26th regular board meeting, disbursements posted to December 10th of 2018, revenue and expenses in the aggregate of July through November 2018, and a certification of the site safety drills.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that. Any questions on the consent agenda? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Into our action items tonight. Our first action item is a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of a taxable tax and revenue anticipation promissory note for cash flow purposes and an amount not to exceed $3.2 million. And we'll turn that over to Superintendent Kierkegaard.
Karen Herman, the district business office manager, was not available tonight, so she asked if I would present this information. And so what we're asking for is a line of credit, not uncommon in school districts. We've used them in the past, and there will be a point in time in January where our taxes haven't been received and we'll have more money going out than we have coming in. And so this is strictly a very short-term borrowing authority that allows us to pay for bills when they come in, knowing that a week or two later, the revenue comes in from our taxes, and we pay it off. And so, like I said, we've done it in the West Bend District in the past. We did not do it last year because the cash flow issue wasn't a problem, but this year we do anticipate. And so Mrs. Herman's recommendation is to have a line of credit not to exceed $3.2 million.
Any questions on this? I will move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of a taxable tax and revenue anticipation promissory note for cash flow purposes in an amount not to exceed $3.2 million.
I second that.
Second by Kurt. Any more questions or discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one is a resolution approving the issuance of individual procurement cards.
So Mrs. Herman asked again that I present this information. So we are looking at changing our credit card policy and hopefully eliminating some of our credit cards and going to a P card or procurement card concept. And so what the procurement card does is it allows for three things that are important. One is it gives a sizable refund back to the district for every dollar you spend, and so it's a money-making card. The second part is that it's very controllable. So with a procurement card, unlike a credit card, with a credit card you can go in and use it at any entity that takes credit cards. With a procurement card, it's strictly only those entities that you have authorized on that card for only specific topics, specific purchases. And so it's not for you to go on travel. It's not for you to go to go buy general supplies. It's only what the procurement card is designed to do. And so for facilities, it might be these 6 entities are the only places that we can use this procurement card. Or for the elementary, it might be for these 5 or 10. But anyway, it's very specific. It's a much tighter mechanism as far as what you can use a procurement card for as opposed to a credit card. And the third one is that it allows you to have electronic consolidation or electronic. I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Reconciliation. So it is a time-saving device as well because there's electronic reconciliation as opposed to all manual. And so what we would like to do is to use the P cards on an exploratory basis for the remainder of this school year. It would be with technology and facilities, and come back next year with the idea to see how they're working and go from there. But like I said, 3 reasons. One is it saves some money. 2 is it puts significantly more control on what you can use a P card for as opposed to a credit card. And 3 is it allows for the reconciliation to be done electronically rather than all manually.
Hearing that, I move to approve the issuance of individual procurement cards, P cards, to authorize the district employees as approved by the district administration.
Second.
Motion and a second. I see Mr. Schmidt has a question.
I assume that these are for pre-approved expenses?
Correct. So everything that's on the P card is all, it's all pre-approved.
Any further questions or discussion on this one? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one is a fast track recommendation for policy 352.1, extended field trips, and we have Jennifer Martin on that one.
There are 2 changes that just to the policy. One is the changing of the wording from chief academic officer, as that's not a term that we are currently using, and changing that to the title of superintendent or superintendent designee. And then also in the policy currently, the AR is listed as 352, and it should be 352.1. The AR will be updated as well, just to reflect, current travel and things with this policy.
Is So again, fast track policies have real no overall change to the policy itself, just some edits, and fast track, because there's no substantial change, we can vote on that right now.
So should it say superintendent designee within the policy? I'm seeing curriculum department.
You know what, actually, I think it does say curriculum department, because currently the field trip requests do come through the curriculum department, and we're the ones who bring them to the board, because our field trips tend to be related to our curriculum, like the trips that the Spanish club takes, or that the German teachers take. Those are all curriculum related, so they do currently come. That was Mimi's misspoken on my part, so.
I move to approve the fast track policy recommendations for policy 352.1, extended trips.
Second.
Any more questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. The next one is the certification of an April 2nd, 2019 referendum, and we'll pass that over to Superintendent Kirkegaard as well.
At this point in time, there are some deadlines that will be here before we know it, and that is regarding a possible referendum for April 2nd. And so if the board has an interest in going forward to at least consider an April 2nd referendum, it's necessary to give the administration the authorization to go to bond council and have the articles of referendum, or the resolution officially drawn up. And so what you would do tonight, if you would like for us to ask bond council to write up the articles of resolution for a referendum, we would do that and bring it to the board in January for your consideration. With that, we can leave the dollar amount open at this point in time, or if you would like to insert a dollar amount, we can actually have the bond council develop it based on X amount, okay? And so in the past, we had talked about a $50 million referendum, okay? We mentioned that we have about $3.9 million in between the Jackson Fund and our Fund 46. We spent $750,000 of that Jackson Fund last meeting when we purchased the land from the Village of Jackson. Okay, so we have a little over $3 million in those two accounts. And so my recommendation, if you choose to ask us to go to bond council and have the referendum drawn up, the resolution, that you would do it for one of three amounts, either $50 million, $48 million, or $47 million. The $50 million would be the full amount that we had talked about, but that doesn't take into consideration that you have saved $3 million. And so realistically, if you are looking at a $50 million project, or two projects that would equate to no more than $50 million, then either a $48 million or $47 million resolution would make more sense. If you choose to go with 48 as opposed to 47, I think you still need to emphasize that your sum total of all the projects are not to exceed $50 million, that the other million you left into the Fund 46 is going to be used for other types of projects, not necessarily the construction of a new elementary school in Jackson or the remodeling of the high school. It would be for other projects. And so really, I think you have two things that you have to consider. One is, do you want us to ask bond council to come up with a resolution to bring to you at our January meeting? And two, if you do, are you ready to tell me how much you want that dollar amount to be, or would you prefer that we just leave that empty and you can open and you can make that decision in January if you chose to go to referendum? So that's really kind of in a nutshell.
Leaving the dollar amount off for now, is that easy to insert in January? Is that, or would we have to go back to our council and spend more money having lawyers review it just by inserting a dollar amount?
I'm not exactly sure about that. I mean, you'd only have a week after you actually took a motion or
Mhm.
action on January 14th, because the ballot question has to be in its final form by January 22nd. So you do have some time in there in case you would have to take, but if you took a motion on the 14th, you have to change the ballot. You'd have to revise the resolution, though. Because the resolution really is identifying what the ballot question is.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to strongly suggest we make it the lowest amount possible, just from the standpoint of stewardship of resources and taxpayer dollars. The other is, I still contend we are overbuilding. It may be necessary, but there are things that are wants and there are things that are needs. And so that is my concern, is that we may be overbuilding, and it's just a fact that the enrollment projections are not there to support the size that we're suggesting. And as I indicated with the high school, certainly in favor of safety, certainly in favor of the tech ed improvements, et cetera. But some of the other things, I'm not quite sure.
Ken, if I don't mind asking, how would you envision the 3 million that we've saved? So are you suggesting we ask for a question of 47
Yes.
plus the 3?
No more than 47.
So the amount would be a not to exceed borrowing of an additional 47.
Correct.
Knowing that we still have 3 in the bank to spend on the project. I just want to make sure I'm in the same boat you are. I mean, we've saved this money for this purpose, and I think the 3 million, there's no point in asking for 50 if you got 3 in the bank. I guess the only other piece of that is, do we want to, after it's all said and done, do we still want to have a little bit in the bank? $500,000 or $1 million? So in that case, maybe you ask for 48, you only spend 2 in the bank, and you're left with $1 million. Yeah.
My contention is that you could still get by with that and still have some in the bank if you did the value engineering that you needed to do too. I contend that there are savings.
Tell the contractor to sharpen their pencils.
I agree with Ken. I am in favor of the 47 million referendum, but at the same time, that doesn't mean we have to spend all of it. And I think that there are things we can do to streamline the design, make it more simple. We just need to have the bond available so that the money is there, but that doesn't mean we're spending all of it.
Question about the remaining dollars. Would they be restricted then? I mean, I understand now they're for a specific purpose, correct? So how does the restriction work in the future?
Fund 46 requires that you keep the initial investment for a minimum of 5 years. So the earliest that you can access any of the Fund 46 dollars will be June or July of 2019, okay? But even if you use all 3 million of it, there's still a little bit left in Fund 46. What you don't want to do is to get it down to 0, where you had to start over again and you couldn't put money into it and take it out for 5 more years. And so you want to keep at least a little bit in Fund 46 so that as we do some energy efficiencies in the high school and some of the savings that you generate because you're putting in LED lights as opposed to fluorescent, some of the money that you're saving, you could potentially put into Fund 46 so that future energy efficiency type programs would have some funding available so that it's a kind of a perpetual account. And I think it's important to save at least a little bit into Fund 46 so you don't have to wait 5 more years for the next time you could take it out. And 3 million would still allow some of that money to be there. And if Ken's right and we could come up with some value engineering and you only spent 47 million as opposed to 50 million, you're going to spend the 47 million that you borrowed and the 3 million that you have in your account isn't going to be spent, and you use that for other projects.
Just don't wipe the account clean.
Don't wipe
because
it
then
totally clean,
You need to
leave a
start
little
an
bit in there.
initial deposit and wait 5 more years.
Which makes it seem then that we should be aiming towards a 48 or 50 million versus 47, so we don't wipe that fund out. Would that be fair to say or no?
I believe if I think, and Karen's not here, but I believe there was about $3,850,000, or not quite, it wasn't 4, but it was more than $3,750,000. And so we spent $750 already, which maybe if you bonded for 30 or 47 million, you still have 100,000 or so in that account. So even if you only borrowed 47, and I don't mean only 47, that's a lot of money, but that would still allow you to keep a little bit of money in Fund 46 so that you could add to it and continue to take it out as soon as you wanted to.
And in the event that a boiler goes out in the high school, would we ever access that Fund 46 as a capital improvement fund? I mean, I don't want to run that well dry and have a need come up that we're not equipped then to handle because we put it all towards this.
Yep.
Just wanna clarify.
At this point in time, if a boiler would go south, you could use Fund 46 dollars to pay for that boiler as long as you waited until July of 2019, because you can't take any of the dollars out before then. But anytime after July, as long as it's a capital project, and I'm looking back to Dave in the back, is that correct? Any capital project that would qualify, we could use Fund 46 dollars for, but not until July of 2019.
Adding some more background to at least the energy efficiency discussion, there has been some more behind-the-scenes analysis being done at the high school, and Jackson, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm speaking high picture, we got 1.1 million square feet in the district. We got about 400,000 square feet at the high school, maybe about 30 or 40 at Jackson currently. The way I'm doing the math here is trying to do quick math. That's 40 to 50% roughly of the energy use of the district is being done in those two schools, and they're both old and inefficient. Old HVAC, old lighting. We spend 1.3 million on utilities in the district. When we say how much could we save by doing even projects like this that we're talking about at the high school and Jackson, we could possibly save 20% of maybe energy, and I know Dave is researching that with some energy service corporations. So it could be used to maybe help pay for a boiler, or at least used to offset some of our costs. So I commend Dave and the staff at doing some research on that, and they have been working hard to try to get the best use out of our facilities. I'm in favor of asking the bond council to draw something up for 47 million. Like Ken Schmidt said, you know, I don't know how you'd word it on a question. I suppose that's why we have lawyers who help us with that. But not, you know, I don't want to spend 50 million if we don't need to spend 50 million. So I'm in favor of keeping some money in our Fund 46, but hopefully it's a lot more than just a couple $100,000 by the time the project's all done. I think if you ask for 50, or if you ask for 49 or 48, then that sends the message to everybody that that's what we intend to spend. And I think going at 47, that shows that, you know, we've taken into account our savings account, Fund 46, and yet still don't even want to have to spend that much, so. Any more comments or questions?
I move to authorize district administration to have bond counsel draft an official resolution for a $47 million referendum for the April 2, 2019 election ballot.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? One thing I will add is our policy 615 will certainly come into play at our next board meeting, and I'll just take the time to read the 3 or 4 points on here. Number 1 is that the total principal dollar amount of the borrowing, which is typically done through the issuance of long-term bonds over its entire term, be made presented to the board for approval and made available to the public upon request. So that would happen next board meeting as we're discussing potential referendum, is the total principal dollar amount of the borrowing. The next one is the total dollar amount of interest expense over the borrowing, which obviously will be, I mean, that's when you're talking interest, you're talking estimates, because you don't know when you're going to borrow money, how much you're going to borrow, or what interest rate you're going to get. But our policy does talk about how that be presented to the board. And the total dollar amount of the referendum, including all principal, interest, and any other items. And then the 4th is all major assumptions and factors used to arrive at those dollar figures. So that's a policy that I know that we followed to a T last fall when we were considering this, and I certainly expect we follow it to a T this go around as well. So, but I think this policy certainly comes into play in our January meeting when we're talking about the question. Any other comments, questions on this? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We will move along to our Pathways Charter School contract amendment. Amendment, not addendum, amendment.
Up until last year, the process for the charter school was that they would present information in December, and the board would give a recommendation for their future in January. And last year, that was changed to December 31st, that the board should make a decision by December 31st. I visited with Michael Flashman from their board of directors, trustees, not a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the timeline, okay? And so asked if it would be possible for us to look at having the presentation tonight from Pathways, and we had a phenomenal presentation from students and parents, but soon we're also going to have some from the instructors, the lead teachers on Pathways, what they're doing, how they're doing it. So that would be tonight. In January, I would give an administrative recommendation to the board regarding Pathways at the first board meeting, and give you an opportunity then at the second board meeting to make a decision, so that you have a presentation tonight, you'll have a presentation in January, you'll then have 2 weeks in between the second, my presentation to the board and the need for you to make a decision. And so Mike went back to the board of trustees, and they agreed to that, and so we have an amendment to the contract that they have approved, and it just extends to January 31st, 2019, the deadline for making a board decision on Pathways. And so I would ask you to consider approving this amendment, and it just gives us a little bit better timeline.
I move to approve an amendment to Section 30, subsection H of the Pathways Charter School contract, changing the deadline for notification of contract renewal from December 31st, 2018 to January 31 of 2019.
Second.
All right. Motion is second. Nancy and Tani, any questions, discussion?
I have a question. Before you arrived, Superintendent, the last time Pathways came up, the question of the facilities was a big issue. Are we going to be getting an update when I reviewed the PowerPoint that's going to be presented, which I don't want to interrupt? I was really hoping to see something about facilities.
The facilities issue is we have to move from our current location. That's not an option for next year. And so that we really have 3, and that'll be part of my presentation, in January, you really have three options. You could move Pathways back to the middle school and have a 2 or 3 rooms at the middle school. You can move it to the high school and have 2 or 3 rooms at the high school, or you can find another location in town that's not on district property, but the current location is not an option. So those truly are your 3 options: middle school, high school, or a different location in town.
Any other questions? Yes?
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to talk about this or not, but it's my understanding that there was going to be a search for a different location that was going to be happening, I guess, all along from the time that we discussed this last year on to now, and there was going to be a recommendation like now.
Yeah, and there will be in January, as far as, in my recommendation, there'll be a location spot included in the recommendation. And so I know that Dave has been working on different sites, and like I mentioned, it's either on-site at either the middle school, taking a few rooms off to the side, at the high school, taking some rooms, or to try to come up with a different location in town. And he has been working a little bit on that, and so that will be part of the presentation in January.
Any more questions, comments?
I just have a comment. Thanks for all the students and parents who spoke tonight. Educated the public, the community, and the board here on your experiences at Pathway. So thank you.
Again, our motion is to make an amendment to the Pathways Charter School contract to all the end of January. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move into our reports, and our first one is on Pathways. I don't know who all's presenting tonight, so maybe you can all introduce yourselves.
And that's what I'm here for. I'm just going to do the quick introductions. The last time Pathways came to the board meeting, we had a session like this, but also a work session, and not all of our current board members were there. So I just really wanted to introduce our co-lead teachers. Becky Derline has been working at Pathways for 6 years. She's always been in West Bend and always teaching at Pathways. And so when the kids and parents talked about her being part of the community and everything, she really has been there from day one. She's a graduate from Concordia Stretch University and also Cardinal Stretch, and then is also pursuing her administrative license within the curriculum and instruction. And the interesting thing is both of these two have a similar path in their education and path as they continue their learning. So Anton is the other co-lead teacher. He also is a graduate of Cardinal Stretch University. He too has been teaching at Pathways within the West Bend School District. He's been there for 3 years. He's also a graduate from the West Bend Public Schools, and so he really came back to continue his leadership here. He and Becky are also working together in those courses for their Curriculum Instruction and Leadership Masters.
Cool. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Yeah, and thank you, good evening, and thank you for taking your time out for us tonight. First of all, before we get started, I want to first thank our Governance Council, who are here to support us tonight, and also thank you to Chris Swigert, who is our school board liaison for Pathways as well, and joined us at our latest showcase night for Pathways projects. So thank you very much for that. The purpose of us being here tonight is first and foremost to educate the school board and the public about Pathways Charter School. We know that some school board members are new since last time we gave one of these presentations. We are also here tonight to update the school board on our accountability plans and our accountability measures, which are submitted yearly, and give an update on the progress there, and then to educate the board in order to make an informed and prepared decision in the upcoming month. So we are going to start this evening by looking at our mission and vision. So our vision for Pathways Charter School, which is stated within our charter contract, is to facilitate project-based learning and in conjunction with local community resources investigating career pathways.
So we do this through our individualized project-based learning curriculum, which we'll talk more about later in this presentation. And we also do this by partnering with local community businesses, as well as Inspire Washington County, which helps us to get out into the community and explore those careers.
And our mission is to work collaboratively with our community to integrate academic rigor and career-based learning that leads to career and post-secondary success. So we place a high focus on project-based learning and career-focused learning. As you heard some of our students talk about how they have finally found their passions in their careers, this is something I'm very passionate about. When I graduated high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I tried many different things. I did pre-chiropractic for 3 years before I decided that I wanted to be a social studies teacher. So I spent thousands of dollars to finally decide where I wanted to be and where my passion lies. So this is something that I am also very passionate about, setting our kids up for success in their future and really finding that passion so they leave their high school experience knowing what they want to do. And we have a bunch of logos on this slide, people that we worked with in the past. We have 2 students currently doing an internship with the police, the City of West Bend Police Department. We also were talking about preparing our kids for post-secondary success, so we included some of the schools that they've gone on to, like MIAD, Moraine Park Technical College. So yeah, that's just highlighting a few.
We wanted to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what a typical Pathways student experiences during the school day, because we know it is a little bit different of a learning environment than you may experience at a traditional school. So we have 2 different columns here on this slide, one explaining the day in the life of a middle school age student and then of a high school age student. So our middle school age students start their day off at Badger Middle School taking their elective courses. So this can be anything from foreign language to art, Phi Ed, and things like that. And then they take a shuttle bus over to Pathways where they spend the rest of their day. The high school students have a similar schedule, but in reverse. They start their day at Pathways and then return back up to the high school for the end of the day to take 3 periods of electives at the high school. While the students are at Pathways, they function in a business-like setting where students are splitting their time between a couple of different things, including individualized project work time, one-on-one coach conferencing time, and scheduled guided content workshops. So we have a very flexible schedule, which allows us to have that one-on-one time with students. Our students during their school day also spend time in advisory while they are at Pathways. During this time, we work a lot with social emotional learning, career exploration, community building, and at the high school level, we are doing ACT preparation as well.
All right, so there's always talk about project-based learning. What is project-based learning? So project-based learning starts with inquiry. It starts with an essential question or a driving question. It's something that they are trying to solve or answer on their own. Within this, it is interdisciplinary. So your contents, your math, your social studies, your English, your science are all working together, which you heard from some of our students really helps them kind of narrow in what they're working on, takes away some of that mindless homework or whatever it was called. So that really hones in on that piece. It's student-centered. So in traditional setting, you have what's called the sage on the stage. So the person with all the knowledge in front of your classroom where you're listening to and you're hearing out. Here, we take a step back, we sit on the sidelines, and we are what's called the guide on the side. So we help coach our students through their learning. That's why we are all referred to ourselves as coaches. Through this process, we have a lot of soft skill development. Soft skill development such as collaboration, using technology to increase productivity, public speaking skills, and the ability to think on their feet. This problem solving makes you have to think on your feet. Also revision. The answer doesn't always come right away within these projects. It is a process. You have to look at what you've found, reevaluate, and sometimes you have to redo the whole thing. Why project-based learning? Well, it allows flexibility. It allows students to take longer, take their time, and really get into the skills and the standards that they need to learn. It's at their own pace, as we've talked about. Voice and choice. They get to take control of their learning, choose the things they want to learn as long as they align to the state standards. This helps with self-advocacy. They have to take control of their learning, and they have to learn how to ask what they need, or ask for what they need. This also brings in pride. As you saw with our students speaking, they do take pride in these projects, and they take pride in our school. It develops the whole person, as we talked a lot about social, emotional support, as well as academic support. They learn to talk to adults through this process. They have to present at showcase nights, as some of you did attend. They have to be able to describe and articulate their learning, which, as adults, you know that some people really struggle with that in their adulthood. But our students start at a young age learning how to do this. Problem solver prepared for the conceptual age. So we're no longer in the industrial age where it's easy to educate students on being factory workers, right? The jobs they're going into require them to think. Some of the jobs that they will go into don't exist yet. So we are preparing them to be problem thinkers and preparing them to be successful in those jobs that may not exist yet. All right? So, you heard me talk about Project Showcase Night. Our first one was on November 2nd, 2018. I would say from the feedback we received from the community, parents, and students, it was a success. The students had a blast. I'll just highlight, for time's sake, one project. If you see in the bottom left, we have a project called Bike Ball. What Bike Ball was, the essential question was, would it be more fiscally responsible to build a pitching machine or buy one? So they looked at different things like opportunity costs, cost-benefit analysis, weighing out what would be the better option. They did some physics in here. They calculated how fast that man-made pitching machine could pitch a tennis ball. 12 miles per hour is what they got it up to. So you can see where the little seat is and the wheel. You drop that ball right in there. It's man-powered, and it sends you a pitch. So that was one project that we had.
Next on our list for tonight is to be talking about our 2017-2018 school report card. These school report cards were developed and given to the public in November of this school year. So I'm sure that you've all seen all of these school report cards for each school in the district already. The process to find the score for each school on a school report card is a very complex and intricate process. And as you dig deeper into the formula for pathways, there are a couple of things that are highlighted here. Our score is developed by mainly factoring in our 7th and 8th grade forward testing scores, our 11th grade ACT testing scores, and having a heavy emphasis on 8th grade math achievement. That being said, we have approximately 30 7th and 8th grade students, and we have 5 11th grade students that factored into this data. Now, after looking at this data for this school year, Anton and myself, along with the rest of our staff at Pathways and support from the school district, dug deeper into this data to look more specifically in each section. After looking at this data, we have made changes to our curriculum already. We've already made changes to our math curriculum this school year to address some of these deficits that we've seen in our middle school math levels. And so far, we already have 2 8th grade students, as was mentioned before, that have already finished their 8th grade math curriculum and are on to algebra. So we're very proud of the work that they've achieved. We also continue to do ACT preparation workshops, which we have done in the previous years and have been proven to be very successful and effective for us, as our ACT scores have been within district and state ranges. This school report card is one of the measures that we take into account when assessing our school. We also take into account our accountability plans. And the first one that I am going to go through with you is our annual accountability plan for the 2018 and 2019 school year. This accountability plan was submitted to the school district and to you as a board in August of this school year. This accountability plan is created every year by the Governance Council in collaboration with the staff members and submitted to the school board to monitor our continuous improvement. So I've highlighted a couple of different goals here and the progress that we're making on those goals. Our first goal to point out is that our staff is looking to get more formally trained on project-based learning and develop our curriculum further. In this past summer, June of 2018, all staff members, content staff members of Pathways attended a Buck Institute for Education project-based learning conference. And we've also been meeting with the district's curriculum coordinator, Jody Stamer, multiple times throughout this school year to be working on developing that curriculum further, as she does have charter school and project-based learning experience. So we thank her for all of her help as well. Another one of our goals focuses on those showcase nights. We have had already, like Anton said, our first showcase night, and we do have 3 more scheduled throughout the school year. So if you'd like to attend our future events, our next one is scheduled for January 10th, which is a Thursday. The rest of the goals on our accountability plan are all centered around student achievement. We have 6 different student achievement goals. All of them are centered around proficiency in reading and math, as measured by the STAR assessment, the Aspire assessment, and the ACT. So far this school year, we have already taken our first round of STAR assessments, and we will be taking our second round this week. After taking that first round of STAR assessments, our staff dug into that data a little bit deeper. We organized students into smaller targeted instruction groups, and especially those students who are below grade level are receiving that targeted instruction. And this accountability plan is fulfilling contract section 30C and 30D. Our next accountability plan that we're going to go over with you tonight is our 5-year renewal accountability measures. This document is one that was given to Pathways by the West Bend School District after a review process was completed in the previous school year. This is also in fulfillment of contract section 30E. In this accountability measures document, which has been linked for you on board docs as well, so you can take a more detailed look at it later if you'd like, there are multiple different goals that are outlined. Some of them are repeats of goals on the previous accountability measures, but I will highlight ones that are unique. The first section that we're looking at here is school safety. Since the review process that was created in last school year, our school has made some significant changes to our school safety procedures. We have significant changes to our check-in policy. Since we are a public building, we are not only requiring students and visitors to Pathways to be checking in and out of our building, but also community members who are using the building in a different way as well. We have also hired additional staff to make sure that that front desk is covered at all school hours during the school day. Next is staff training, which is a similar section to the previous accountability plan, talking about that project-based learning training. After that, we're looking at showcase nights, which again, we have already held our first one and have more planned. And after that, we are looking at program development. One of the goals on this accountability measures is about developing our program in a more succinct and deeper dive way. And over the summer, our staff members, along with working with Jody Stamer, came up with a new course guidebook and a vertically aligned vertically aligned guide along with rubrics for every course. So these rubrics allow us to understand what proficiency means for every standard within that course. Next, we're looking at progress monitoring. During the summer and then starting at the beginning of the school year, we have implemented a new learning management system. This learning management system allows us to assess and track proficiency, not only on every single standard that leads up to a credit within a course, but then credits that lead up and toward graduation. So students are able to determine if they are on track for graduation based upon the credits that are being tracked in that system. And then finally, another goal that we have on this accountability measures is individual learning plans. This is one of our pillars of Pathways, which if you look in the Pathways Charter School contract, you will see that our 3 pillars are outlined there. Individualized learning plans are one of the main things that we do at Pathways, and we are doing those plans and creating goals based both on academics and career-based goals. So our students are creating and working towards those throughout their school day, and then assessing and discussing during our advisory period. So if you'd like more information on either of these two documents, they are linked on your board docs with the accountability measures and then the results or progress so far as well.
How many students are at Pathways?
We currently have 56 students. We have 28 in the high school level and 28 in the middle school level.
How long is their overlap? I know that some started one school. Yeah, you explained the shuttle system, but how much overlap is there where they're all there together?
Our high school students start their day there. Middle school students arrive at approximately 9:45, and our high school students leave at about 11:15. So part of what we did over the summer and then into this school year is we did change around the scheduling and the busing for our students to allow for more teacher-to-student contact during the school day. So previously, all students had started their day at either Badger or the high school and came to Pathways in the afternoon. For this school year, we switched that around so that students could have more of that one-on-one contact with coaches, teachers.
And could you also explain in more detail the public check-in procedure?
So the new procedure for this school year, we do have a check-in procedure with the person at the front desk, which is now staffed for all school hours during the school day from 7:15 until 3:15. That process requires whoever walks in the front door to sign in on a clipboard with their name, their signature, time in, time out, and then they receive a lanyard while they're in school or in the building.
So it's not just the honor system of walking through the door and signing your name. There's a person there who's
Correct.
making, okay, contact.
Person at the desk to talk to.
Okay, thanks.
So next section, meeting the needs of the whole child. We heard a lot about this from our parents and students speaking. Social and emotional needs. As a district, we pride ourselves on developing the whole child, but at Pathways, we get to do this in a very personalized way, as you've heard. We do have staffing responsive to student need. Our students always have the opportunity to speak with counselors at Badger and at East or West High School, but we have our own counselor that comes Monday through Wednesday for half times to help with academic planning and any other further social emotional needs. We do have an instructional tech this year because this year we have a high percentage of students with special accommodations. Due to this, we brought in Todd Pizzoro to help support them further. Also, we talked about advisory and that family atmosphere. That's where we get to talk about, explore different careers through guest speakers and field trips. We also get to talk about social emotional concerns in a safe, non-threatening environment. This is where self-advocacy comes through too sometimes. One of my favorite stories is for our first showcase night this school year. One of our students came up to us and said, hey, at lunch, I heard everybody talking about how nervous and how much anxiety they have about presenting at showcase night. So we were able to take advisory and address those concerns and those needs with those students so that they felt safe and supported during their first showcase night. All right, so we do have a little video for you. We did hear from our students. We didn't anticipate that, so we gave you some more student video for our students. They were asked what Pathways means to them, and this is a 2.5-minute quick video to wrap up our presentation.
I like this school because I can be such an individual. I really like the math program because it allows me to work at my own pace and not as like a full class. Like if you're behind on something, it's really easy to catch up.
I get more individual help from my teachers, and it just makes learning easier for me.
Pathways creates opportunities for students to express themselves in the way they want to.
It allows us to create our own projects and set goals and accomplishments for ourselves as an individual.
I like Pathways because I get to have a hands-on learning experience.
I like it because with less people it's quieter, and that helps me work.
it kind of like narrowed and like helped you decide what you wanted to be after school.
I like that we get to do meaningful projects. Like I built a pull-up bar for a project. It's Coach Balzar.
I like how the curriculum is organized to like accommodate for each of the students. They help us with the concept, even if they have already moved on to their own stuff.
I like the different learning style. We learn a lot differently than most other kids, but most kids here, it makes them excel a lot farther.
At Pathways, I get to be more independent and get more voice and choice.
I have the opportunity to do an internship in my career of interest.
With Pathways, I got a chance to do what I wanted instead of what the teachers wanted.
I like Pathways because it lets me take control of my own learning.
Because I want to graduate here, I still want to pursue my future here, and I think Pathways is helping me strive for my future.
I stayed at Pathways because it helped me find a love for music and art.
I'm successful here because of the freedom in the projects.
Some of the things I like about Pathways are the free will to choose your project and how nice the coaches are.
The coaches engage me in my learning.
Like all the workshops are shorter, which means I can stay more engaged and I have more time to work independently.
If I needed help in a certain area, then I could get that help due to the smaller student base and the teachers being able to have more time to interact with each individual student. I came to Pathways because it really gives me the freedom to choose what I want to do for my project, such as video editing right here.
And that video was edited and created by that student that you saw at the end there, Connor Marcone. So we just wanted to thank you for your time this evening and your thoughtful questions. And finally, our slide here, you heard from Simon Euchre earlier today and his father as well, and speaking towards how he has spent his whole career here and how he was our ribbon cutter. So we wanted to show you that amazing journey, and little tiny Simon in the front of this photo here, back in 2013 cutting our ribbon. So he has had an amazing journey, and we're very proud of all that you've accomplished. And at this time, if you have any more questions, we can address those. But as Superintendent Kierkegaard said, we will have more opportunities in the future to address those questions as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any more questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation and being here tonight. We're going to move along to our East and West High School reports.
Before we get started, high schoolers, you are allowed to stay if you'd like, but you've been here about 2 hours already. I know that a lot of you have other things to do tonight. We'll sign your forms tomorrow if you'd like. So if you want to take off, that's fine. We understand.
That has never been done before, high school kids, so.
They've been here 2 hours.
Yeah, I hear you.
Your signature now.
That's okay.
I could tell they were getting antsy.
I'm just going to wait for a few minutes.
All right. You're in for the long haul.
If you guys don't mind, we do have to continue our meeting, so if you're signing papers in the back, that's fine, but if you could just keep the conversation down, and we're going to continue on here, so thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for moving us along. Tonight, you see this wonderful group behind me, and really as you think about the leadership at our high schools, there's a combined amount of years of 88 years of education experience among this group. And so that's just something to be admired. They all have very different backgrounds, and they just bring a wide variety to the table as a team of leaders. So I'll just tell you a little bit about each of them individually, and then they'll share a little bit more about each East and West High School. So Ralph is up first. I think you just ended up with your name first on the list, but as you know, Ralph was a West Bend graduate. He's spent his career here, and he had 23 years in education. His graduate studies was in leadership from UWM. Darcy is our East principal, and she's been in West Bend School District for 5 years. She's been in education for 11, and she comes to us with a graduate degree from Carroll University. Tyler Wood. Tyler has been in education for 11 years, all within West Bend School District. His graduate degree is from Carroll University as well. Just kidding. Darcy's was Carroll. He's from Cardinal Stretch. Jen Johansson is also one of the team members. She's been in West Bend for 4 years. She's been in education for 15, and she just brings a wealth of different experiences with her from Concordia University in Mequon, but also Drake University. Jen Potter is one of our newest members to the team, and she's also one of the other Jens in the district. Makes things confusing once in a while, but she joined us last year, and she's been in education for 16 years. Her graduate degree is from Arizona State University, and an East graduate. Patrick, hey, buddy. You all probably know Patrick from his experience with Pathways, but Patrick O'Connor is one of the assistant principals. He's been in West Bend for 11 years. He's been in education for 12. He has done graduate work from DeVry University and St. Mary's University. And like I said, among them, they bring together 88 years of experience in education as teachers or leaders, and their experiences stem from everything from FIAD to science to art. And so with that, I give you the East and West High School Admin team.
All right. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, and good evening. Thank you for giving us the time to speak to you tonight. We are excited to be here. All of us are going to play a role in tonight just so you can hear us and get to know us. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free. Otherwise, we do have a moment at the end to answer any questions too. So as a combined high schools, we have almost 2,250 students that we are proud to serve. Our dedicated staff of 144 teachers and faculty, 75 support staff, 28 food service, 23 custodial, and 3 liaison officers are all integral in making our system at the high school run smoothly every day. We are proud of what they do for our students and for one another. Our students have opportunities beyond the scope of our neighboring schools as we offer 24 advanced placement classes and Project Lead the Way courses in science and technical education. Students have capstone class experiences where they are connected with mentors and local businesses where they design a solution to a problem or dive deep into the reality of a career, such as areas in nursing, manufacturing, engineering, business, culinary, and more. Our students access our College and Career Center, which is on site, and are becoming much more aware of the opportunities to learn from and connect with to shadow a variety of careers as they are also being immersed in our youth apprenticeships. Our students are also committed to giving back to our community through solid volunteer work and community service projects. That is very commendable. The opportunity for students to get involved and feel they are connected to the school community is grand. We offer 49 diverse co-curriculars and clubs, 30 sports teams, and memorable opportunities through the arts, being able to perform both on the Silver Lining Arts Center stage and within our community. Teaching our students is beyond the content in our classrooms, and we know that. We know that we need to teach them the skills to be successful in life. This leads us to the how of our work. How do we get our students to be future ready beyond our 4 classroom walls? The high schools have strategically created professional learning community goal teams where all of our faculty have a role in shaping the deep work that we do to prepare our students to be future ready. So this next section that we're going to be going through speaks to the high school goal teams and the work each team is focused on as they relate to our high school goals.
So to address the student learning portion of our school continuous improvement plan, we've developed goals focusing on growth, college and career readiness, and closing gaps for our special education and English learning populations. One of the ways we're addressing this is to align our professional learning community teams to address our school goals. So in the area of student learning, we've focused on these specific areas. One of the teams is disciplinary literacy team, where they're looking at what disciplinary literacy looks like in the career fields and how specific subjects and courses can use strategies to support career readiness. Another team is our STEM or science, technology, engineering, and math team, who are reviewing our ACT data for math and science to determine specific areas for growth and are creating common cross-discipline terminology. And our third team is the technology integration. And this team is helping to develop our one-to-one implementation plan for East and West High School so that the staff and students are future ready. Patrick's going to talk a little more about them.
I'm just going to take you real quick around the board. We'll start at the top left and move clockwise. You should be able to hear some of the words Tyler was just talking about from our PLCs and the work that they've done being implemented right away this year into our classrooms. So starting right at the top there, we have students that are in a classroom piloting one-to-one device use. They're interacting with each other as well as the devices as they learn. Then moving across the top, we have students working on transcripts and college applications at senior day. Then the bottom right corner, we have students at our German Career Day where they learned about career opportunities specifically from German companies from Germany. That's all our German 5 students. And then in the bottom middle, we have one of our high school students who's sharing about her home country, Kazakhstan, in her traditional dress. And then finally on the bottom left, we have a West Bend High School student that's constructing a brain using a mannequin system in her Human Body Systems Project Lead the Way class. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ralph and Jen Potter.
Hi, everyone. And just like the student learning goal, we also have engagement and customer satisfaction goals. So we're really focused on preparing students for their college and career readiness success beyond the high school. 2 committees that we have currently right now are the Career Committee, which is the academic career planning focused on really creating and bridging those opportunities for students beyond the classroom. And then we also have our Community Connections Committee that is focused on supporting and maintaining and using community partnerships, building and developing and restoring them.
What we have here, it's just a couple of photographs like Patrick showed you before. We included a few in the engagement and customer satisfaction slides. At the top left corner, you can see that we have students wearing red jackets. They've been here before because I was at that meeting. They're our Skills USA students. And they travel around the state and they qualify for national competitions in career and technical education, essentially competition. And there's a laundry list of competitions. There are approximately 50 or 60 that students can participate in, and our students do very well in those competitions. We talked earlier about the blood drive that is going on the 12th. That is spearheaded by our students again. In the lower right-hand corner is a picture of several of us with Metalcraft. Metalcraft is one of many, many great partners in the West Bend area and community that donate not just materials. That particular day we were getting a machine from them that we otherwise couldn't afford, but they also give their time and talent by coming in, or we go to them and we do a lot of job shadows. In fact, last year, one of the things I think I've said to this group before is we did over 45 apprenticeships last year alone. Apprenticeships. That's impressive. That's not including job shadowing opportunities and things like that. So we have also partnered, in the lower left-hand corner, we partnered with the United Way and Inspire Washington County to get our students partnered up with more businesses in the local area. If by chance a student is interested in a career and they get on the Inspire website, they can actually communicate with coaches, job coaches, who can tell them what they do in their field, what they can expect on a day-to-day basis, salary, education, all that information. And then if they're lucky enough, some of our students will also get jobs in the summer or actually even during the school year, and hopefully those jobs will turn into maybe a lifetime career if they're so inclined. Now I'm going to turn over to Jen Johansson.
Hi. The focus of the Safe and Secure goal is on the practices to increase student time in the class and increase school safety by implementing the different interventions in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Just in case you needed a refresher or you wanted to know, Tier 1 is the meaning of universal behavior instruction and interventions and supports like common language, common practices for all students. So that's Tier 1 level. And then Tier 2 would be meaning targeted group supports for students who aren't responding to Tier 1 supports for behavior interventions or other supports that they might have to receive. We recognize that students out of the class for any reason means less learning. Our team studied past attendance data and then created our goal. Both the social emotional team and the attendance tier 1 and tier 2 teams focus is aligned with that school goal, meaning by the end of the 2018-19 school year, the West Bend High Schools will possess an overall attendance rate of over 94% or higher. So that's those committees' focuses. The social emotional goal team's mission reads by ensuring the education of our PLC members in restorative practices and trauma-sensitive schools process, we will reduce behavior referrals and make students and staff feel safer within the school environment. Just so you know, the trauma-sensitive schools allows us to enhance our school's existing support systems, acknowledging the prevalence of traumatic exposure for our students, the importance of staff well-being, and striving to meet the unique needs of all of our learners. So that's the trauma-sensitive piece. And then the restorative practices piece, the use of restorative practices in classrooms and dealing with discipline and implementing change in our school will help us and our students improve relationships and behavior, all of which positively impact our academic performance for all of our students. So it comes full circle. As far as the attendance in Tier 1 and Tier 2 goal teams, the Tier 1's mission is really to sustain an effective and positive learning environment needed for all students to achieve the social, emotional, and academic success. So again, everything comes full circle with these teams. Tier 2's mission is utilizing Tier 1 data, identifying and implementing current intervention strategies and designing new strategies and evaluating the impact of those strategies. Both Tier 1, actually I'll skip to the next slide. These different pictures that are on there, the restorative practices team right now, well, last year and this year, has been doing book studies on restorative discipline for our schools. They also have been taking some of these practices into their classrooms, especially the social emotional goal team that we have. So we're hoping that those will be the model teachers that other teachers will go to if they have any questions regarding those practices. The attendance goal, compared to last year, our first quarter attendance improved already. We celebrated that meeting, our goal, with an end of quarter celebration, which you'll see on the lower right corner. And then to give incentives to getting our kids to school earlier, coffee has been a huge thing. Lattes, I guess, too, and I haven't gotten the chai tea, but I should. So those are up there, and we really want to thank Dunn Brothers for just partnering up with us for an incentive for our kids to be to school on time. So we're putting everything together. All of those play a key role in that. So, yep.
Okay, before I introduce athletics, they're coming up next. Just so you guys know, with the PLC goal teams, we really took a deep dive look at the root cause analysis as to why students aren't learning in some areas and what the gaps are. One of the main ones is just getting to school and getting into those classrooms. As soon as they're here, we can wrap around them and support them. So I hope that as you're looking through these goal teams, you see our rationale as to why our specific focus on them. Next up is athletics, and I'm going to do a little intro for Denny and Erin. Erin's not here right now, so Ralph's going to fill in her place, but I'll still introduce her. So we have Denny Ziegler, East Athletic Director. His undergraduate degree from Otterbein University in Columbus, Ohio. Graduate degree from Marietta College in Marietta, Ohio. He coached football and baseball collegiately, and he's been an athletic director for 7 years. Then we have Erin Felber, West Athletic Director, her undergraduate degree from UW-Milwaukee. Graduate degree from Concordia University. She has coached tennis collegiately, and this is her first year in the role. And Ralph is actually filling in for her on this tonight. I think, Denny, you're up first? Yep. All right.
Alrighty, just to start with our 4 pillars, and I'm going to look at this not only from the fall, but as a whole. So from the fall, we pretty much have stayed steady with our numbers over the last 5 years. From an East perspective, I think our biggest drop has been 7 students either way. So, you know, over the course of the last 5 years, we've been pretty steady. This fall, we had 294 students in sports, and West had 300. So from a school, you know, perspective, we've both been pretty even and stable. From a competitive success point of view, standings-wise, I don't think there's a drop-off at East or West. either we stayed the same, or in some cases, we were able to rise in the standings as much as 4 spots. So from an East football perspective, back-to-back playoff years, that's the first time in a long time, I think, that we did that. And we were able to finish 3rd in the conference, whereas last year we were 6th. Volleyball for East, this past year, we were 3rd, and in the years previously, we were 6th, 7th, or 8th. So that was our biggest gain as far as the fall sports go. Some other competitive success things that we've been able to do. Our East dance team was at a lot of the UDA camps. They finished 1st. They are sending a student to Rome. They were able to do the Colders commercial and win that contest. They've been involved, as well as West, involved a lot in the community parades and being able to be visible to the community, and they kind of work hand in hand, as far as the whole engagement piece goes. Some other competitive success tools is that East had 20 all-league honors this past fall, and that's in all sports. That's in football, that's in volleyball, that's in tennis, that's in all fall sports. We had 20 of all-league, and that could be first team, second team, or it could be honorable mention. We had 10 alone just for football honor, so that was a huge honor for us this past fall. As far as the engagement piece, we've been very, very active in the community, not only from a department standpoint, but also from East and West standpoint. So, we mentioned the East football team. We held our first ever tailgate pregame party, and that was hosted by Ion, great host for us. We were able to bring the community together. We opened up the parents and the community to be able to celebrate East now, in back-to-back playoff years. The football team did their annual Veterans Night, where they recognized the veterans. They did the motorcycle lap around the track 2 times, and that's just a huge thing to get, not only the veterans, but for the community and the parents to be involved with that. We had, not only from the fall, but from a perspective of all sports, we were able to host the first ever high school hoops series down at the Pfizer Forum a couple weeks ago. So it's the first time that a high school team has played on the Pfizer Forum, and that was East Girls versus Nicolay. So that was a great opportunity for our girls, a great way to kind of celebrate them. We still have the Rewards app, and we're able to get 3 new sponsors on that app, and there's more sponsorships coming. So Cousins is a huge part of that Rewards app for us. Now we have Texas Roadhouse on there too, and there's other restaurants that are still, as well as other businesses that want to get on that app. We have still been able to offer the leadership course to all students or student athletes. And then there is a Lead Now program that I've been working with the coaches on as well, and they can go through that. It's an online digital training program that teaches coaches how to be better leaders. And part of that leadership course is for the students and for the coaches to be able to concentrate on how to become more mentally tough. Okay, it's the mental side of the athletic side and not just the physical side. And then lastly, just what we're going to be celebrating here in the next couple weeks, we have a huge St. Jude fundraiser coming up. That is next Friday, where we have actually a huge competition between us and Fort Washington. So next Friday we will be having a varsity boys and girls doubleheader versus Port Washington, and there is a community challenge to see who can raise the most money. And we have a challenge between the mayors as far as some free throw competitions go. We've been able to get a lot of great donations for it. So it's a huge publicity piece for us, but also just be able to give back to St. Jude's. And the best part of it is we've actually asked kids that do have cancer or that have battled through it to come, and at the start of the game, the starting lineups are going to be presenting special gifts to those kids. So it's going to be a great, fantastic venue, just another way for us to be involved in the community. I will turn over to Ralph to speak more on West.
All right, thank you, Denny. I know Erin would love to be here, and she did have to step out, though, to take care of something. She's been a wonderful addition, by the way, to the West administrative team and to our school as a whole. She is really focused on culture and has done just a really wonderful job of creating excitement around West Athletics, and I couldn't be more happy with the work she's doing. As Denny mentioned, we had 300 participants in sports this year. That's 25% of our student body. Of those 300 student athletes, we had our boys and girls cross-country teams. I know some of this you already know because you've honored them. Both qualified for the state tournament, as did 6 swimmers and 1 girls golfer this last fall. Other highlights this fall include our boys varsity soccer team defeating the #1 team in the state. That was Whitefish Bay. They hadn't lost in 2 years, and we knocked them off 1-0. That was a great game. I actually happened to be there. Our dance team has volunteered at the Alzheimer's Run, the Life of Hope Walk for Suicide Prevention, the Column Scholarship 5K, Beyond Limits Field Day, and several events at the Samaritan Center. And I think it's really important that our student athletes get involved in charity and activities like that. I also know that our football team this last year worked with Renee Wilberg, a teacher at Fair Park, and our boys football team was going over there and reading with their students. And as Aaron wrote in here, the kids at Fair Park looked at our football players as if they were NFL players. And I do know that because I saw the pictures of those kids looking like, wow, you know? So that was really, that was wonderful. Our volleyball team honored law enforcement during their match on 9/11. So a lot of really great things being done by our teams. Boy Janto recently brought his girls cross-country team up here, and he mentioned to you that they had a 3.93 cumulative grade point average. That is something that is, it seems like every year those girls really excel, and it's important that our student athletes get the job done in the classroom, and he epitomizes a coach who really stresses that. Let's see, what else? Erin wanted me to mention that she started a program this year for our Student Athletes of the Week, where coaches tell her about a student athlete that is going above and beyond, and she calls them down to her office and presents them with an Eat, Breathe, Sleep Spartans t-shirt. And those are really taking off. You're seeing students wear those around school. We also had new senior banners created this year, and they're hanging beautifully in our field house, both east and west. Had those banners made. Our seniors are prominently displayed in those banners. We also wanted to let you know that on Wednesday, January 16th, Erin has mentioned this in several places, she will be hosting at the Silver Lining Gallery a community conversation with students, staff, parents, and community members to provide feedback and set goals for West Athletics. The West Athletics website has been updated, as has been a Spiritwear shop on there, and it's open 24/7, 365. Lastly, I want to mention on this page that Erin prepared, she is taking a team of student athletes to a leadership conference in a couple of days. In all my years at West or East, that Denny has done stuff like this. It's the first time a West Athletic Director has taken student athletes to a leadership conference, and I think that's worth mentioning. A couple other things she had asked me to mention real quickly. We had talked about some of our athletic success. We did also have 2 students sign celebrity letters of intent this past fall, one in girls basketball, one in baseball. Actually, that was today. And we had 2 student athletes sign Division I scholarships, one in lacrosse, where a young man, Ethan Coughlin, will be competing in lacrosse at Canisius, and Isabel Holbrook, she will be swimming at the University of North Texas. So that's Erin's report. She wanted me to let you guys know she's had a wonderful 3 months, and she really has done a sensational job.
All right, last thing here, you're probably wondering, how do we keep everything straight with everything going on at the high schools? And just to ground all of our staff, we have on Fridays, each of our staffs, both East and West, they wear their pride shirts, and on the back of their shirts are each of our themes for each of the schools. They're very similar. For East, we have Explore, Achieve, Simplify, Teamwork, and West, Serving, Learning, Achieving Together. And that's a great way to keep that foundational root, and we also drive that theme throughout our faculty meetings too throughout the year. And that's it. Do you guys have questions for us?
I think we're all in awe of everything that you do every day. So please don't take that as that we're not interested. We're just totally in awe of everything you do. I have 2 students at the high school. I commend you all. It's been a very positive experience. And it's as a parent, you're a little nervous when you send them up to the high school and what's going to happen there. And I will tell you, for both my daughters, who couldn't be more different from each other, it's been a wonderful experience for both. So thank you all very much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we've got a first reading of a policy tonight, Policy 378, which is public performances by students. This is something that the Policy Committee asked to be advanced to the board, and so we're going to talk about it tonight, first reading. Thank you.
Policy 378 looks at public performance by students and was written originally in 1966. It has been updated as late as 2013, but in reviewing policy, it's determined that the key points within the policy are already in other policies and are appropriately cleared by the school principals. So because this policy is in various other board policies and administrative rules, the policy committee has asked that we move this forward to actually delete or archive this policy, as it's covered in other policies that we currently have.
All right, any discussion or questions on this? This is just a first reading, so we'll have this as an action item in January. Okay, thank you. Committee reports. We had a policy meeting earlier tonight. We'll turn that over to Mr. Schweigert.
Okay, at 4:45, the policy committee met. We had 3 items on the agenda. The first was consideration of new board policy 224, board superintendent relations. We reviewed a WASB sample policy and asked that administration draft a version and an administrative rule for the committee's consideration at a future meeting. Second item, review of board policy 852, distribution of non-school sponsored information. After review, the committee recommended no changes. And then lastly, review of board policy 181.5, virtual attendance at a board meeting. Based on some suggestions from the committee, revisions will be to that policy will be brought to the board for a first reading, I believe at the next board meeting. And that concludes my report.
All right, Superintendent Kierkegaard.
Before I start, Denny's still in the back of the room. This is Denny's last meeting, so he'll be leaving us and going to Ohio, and we wish him all the luck in the world, and we'd like to, on behalf of the West Bend community, thank you for your service to our district, and we'll miss you. So good luck in the future. I'm passing around a press release that will go out soon, and it's not necessarily the ones that you would like to have, but hopefully everybody's going to be okay. Earlier this evening, 8 students and 1 coach from the West Bend East and West High Schools traveling on a Johnson school bus from Campbellsport to West Bend were involved in an accident near Highway 45 in Kewaskum. The students are members of the bowling team. 3 boys were taken to the hospital to be examined. The other boys released to their parents. No coaches were injured. And so we believe that, not critical, but I don't know that for sure. And so I don't want to speculate on the seriousness of the boys that went to the hospital. I'm assuming that there will be news cameras and you'll see something soon, but I wanted, as long as we're here, to let you know that there was a bus accident tonight, and anytime you have a bus accident, it's always a nervousness on all of our part, and 3 students were taken to the hospital to get further examination. So that's that information, and that's why I've been in and out the last couple times. Or during the meeting. Nothing else on my behalf except for Christmas is just around the corner, and I wish every one of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll be back in January for another school board meeting. WASB. So yes, thank you, Deb. The registration this week for early registration for anybody who wants to attend the conference in Milwaukee needs to let us know this week so Deb can get you registered. So if you are planning on attending, would like to attend, let us know and we'll get you registered.
Yeah, I would put a plug in for that for any board members that have not attended in the past. It's fantastic, really well orchestrated, have a lot of districts knowledge. You learn a lot from the districts. Will be very honest and say, we messed up here, and this is how we corrected it, and this is how we've moved forward, and this is why we're now a high-functioning district. It's not just all roses and rainbows. There's reality to it, but some great speakers and just very well done. Lots of learning to be had there. So.
On our board meeting calendar, we have regular board meetings on January 14th, January 28th, and February 4th. Quite a few action items that need to be addressed in those meetings coming up. We'll have policy meetings as well, closed sessions if need be. We do have a potential disciplinary hearing next week. Is that canceled?
Excuse me, yes, that's been canceled.
Okay, good to know. I was going to tell everyone to look out for their emails and things, so that has been canceled. So we shouldn't have any school board meetings between now and Christmas, and we'll pick back up January 14th with our regular board meeting. Any other questions or comments on future agenda items, calendar? If not, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, and we're adjourned. Thank you.